So now we're going into the first dungeon. And unfortunately, the dungeons in this game don't start out too strong. Because this dungeon is basically an annoying labyrinth until you actually get the item. Then it becomes more fun. But until then, it's kind of just wandering around aimlessly after a certain point. They don't give you quite enough direction sometimes in this game. This game is definitely a step up in difficulty from Wind Waker. And sometimes the added challenge can make it more satisfying to play through. Like, the dungeons are definitely better than Wind Waker all around. But still. Sometimes it can be a bit too unintuitive, and of course, Midnight wouldn't help. The gimmick of this dungeon that makes it different from the Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time is that you have to rescue monkeys. Some people have theorized that maybe the monkeys are descendants of the Kokiri, but there's no great Deku tree anywhere, so I don't really think that's the case. But there are definitely Kokiri symbols, like, right on the door, which kind of makes it feel like a recycling of the Forest Temple when it isn't. These enemies are really annoying because they're so random trying to hit. They'll constantly block your attacks with the front of them, or the front of their mouths for no reason, but other times, you'll be able to attack them at the front just fine. They're just so random. It's better to attack them from the back, but the problem is that they can turn around, so you won't be at the back for very long. But yeah, you rise some platforms by lighting a bunch of torches, and like, the dungeon map isn't really that changed from the previous game. Of course, the compass is separate from it. I prefer what they did in Skyward Sword, where they just had the dungeon map and the compass be just one item. But yeah, the explanation with this guy is that he went crazy in the head, and it's implied to be because of the whole dark power that Link is searching for, the fused shadow. Did we really need to see that? But anyways, like, that's another novel concept for this game, is Link is searching for evil power instead of good power. Like, you look for evil power to progress with the game and fight Sand. That's a very unique concept that's never really revisited. You even see people get possessed by the dark power, including that very monkey. And this is another really unique concept, like swinging across stuff with the monkey. Of course, you have to time pressing the A button just right so you don't get launched backwards. You might think that the monkey's good at showing you where to go. The problem is that you don't follow it, it follows you. So you can easily, like, go into a door that you're not supposed to with the monkey, and it'll walk backwards and won't follow you. So you thought that it was leading you in the right direction, but it wasn't. This is a very strange looking creature. Like, it looks like a human crossed with the chicken, and I don't really want to think about how that happened. Like, what kind of fucked up gods decided to make creatures like this? They're from the sky, but Skyloft's never had creatures like this. So, Skyward Sword seems to be a bit of a giant retcon because they never mention the Uku at all. They never even so much as imply, like, where the Uku came from. Are we supposed to believe that the people of Skyloft de-evolved into that? Because I'm pretty sure we were supposed to believe that they just became like the regular people of Hyrule. So where did the Uku come from? Why is a Sky Village populated only by those things and not by, like, normal humans like Skyloftians? Where's the Wind Tribe from Minish Cap? I would have loved to see them back instead of those weird human chicken things. It sounded like they were trying too hard to be different in that case. But yeah, that was a prime example of how the monkey doesn't really show you where you need to go. Like, I just went here, but the monkey, like it just doesn't tell me where he's supposed to go very well in this dungeon. But yeah, there's plenty of differences in the HD version. Like, amiibo support was added. Like, amiibos being like trophies, merchandise, characters that you can just plug into the Nintendo, and they'll give you effects to help you in the game. They're like paid DLC or something. You can scan in the amiibos after light is restored to Farron. The Wolf Link amiibo unlocks the Cave of Shadows, which is basically a slogfest that you have to go through to get the Colossal Wallet, letting you carry 9,999 rupees. So you basically have to fight a whole bunch of monsters in like a cave of ordeals just to get the best wallet. Why can't we just start out with that wallet to begin with? Link Between Worlds had you start out with basically the Colossal Wallet, so why do you have to use an amiibo and go through some boring slugfest just to get that wallet? The Link and Toon Link amiibo replenish arrows, and the Zelda and Sheik amiibo replenish hearts. The Ganondorf amiibo is for an added challenge, making you take more damage, like double damage. Yeah, this was a pretty unique concept as well, like rolling against totem poles to make cages fall over. I don't think you've ever done that before. But yeah, as you get more monkeys, they allow you to like swing greater distances. And you can also like burn the webs, but you've been doing that since the Forest Temple and Ocarina of Time. Only it's a bit more annoying now because you have to make sure you have lantern oil first. I don't know why you can't just cut the spider web with your sword. Because, you know, your sword is sharp. Like, how magical is this spider web that it's so thick that sword can't cut through it? These are bombings, I think. They're like walking spider bombs. And this one is kind of cheaply placed because it's not nearly close enough to this thing. Like, you have to be lucky to get into this thing. You have to destroy it because otherwise it'll stretch really high up and grab you before you reach this area. Of course, the slingshot is mandatory here. Like, this is probably the only dungeon where it's mandatory. Because you need to shoot down spiders on the vines that will knock you down otherwise. But later on, you just get the bow and that replaces the slingshot. Like, it's like they even have dedicated slingshot ammo in the form of random pumpkin seeds. But you never really use it again. Which makes sense that I guess they didn't bother making the slingshot, like, pellet seed bag have upgrades. We never really see a pellet seed bag. This is a pretty annoying enemy. He attacks you so quickly, like, he moves towards you so quickly. Like, now it's not so hard to attack him. Like, you can jump attack up to him. But sometimes it can attack you while you're in the middle of jumping towards it. Which feels cheap. It's not that bad though. That thing, when I look at it, it reminds me of the things you would jump into in Wind Waker in the forest dungeon that would launch you upwards. Like, it seems to be of the same shape, so like, I can imagine if at least a few people walked right into it thinking that it would launch them. It doesn't help if this is a forest dungeon too. But I don't really see the point of having basically a mini-boss here, when, like, this is the only dungeon in the game with 2 mini-bosses. I guess the game doesn't really count this as one, since it doesn't have the cool mini-boss music. What's the point of, like, locking these monkeys up in the first place? Like, what does the person who locked them up have to gain in locking up the monkeys? But some more HD version differences were the Ghost Lantern. The Ghost Lantern was added, which lights up if a Poe is near, even during the day. So that's really convenient. It means there's less There's less guide, dang it. That and the fact that there's also an in-game counter of the number of Poes left in every area. Like with the Mai-Mais in Link Between Worlds. Like, I loved finding the Mai-Mais in that game because it just made it so much more convenient to keep track. I'm not really familiar with the Ghost Lantern though. I don't know if it's the kind of bullshit where you have to equip it for it to light up, which would destroy all of its usefulness because how likely are you to have that item out? Probably not very likely, especially considering that there's only 2 item slots. So you're probably just going to walk right past all the Poes anyways. Not to mention the fact that if it tells you that a Poe's there during the day, you can't attack it anyways, because it's not like there's a sun song in this game. Like, that's one of the biggest glaring omissions this game has. Even though there's a lot more to do during the night that you can't do during the day, they took out the Song of Passing, which is really annoying. Like, some people try to say that staring at the sun makes the time makes the time go by faster. I don't really see it. All it really does is hurt my eyes. The weird thing about staring at the sun in this game is that it makes the sky around it go pitch black, like it's the middle of the night. Like you're seeing the sun in the middle of the night. Which is pretty cool. I guess it's supposed to be like realistic, but not in a bad way. But yeah, here's another part where you get stuck, because the game doesn't really tell you what to do at all. You see, the key is actually on top of a chest, on top of a totem pole that you have to roll at in order to knock the chest down. The problem is that the camera never pans up or anything to tell you that there's a chest on top of a totem pole. Like, there's a lot of times where you'll enter a room in this game and you'll see the camera panning around to show you what's ahead. I don't think that ever happened in Wind Waker, but I don't think it does that here. So it doesn't at all show you that there's a key on top of a, like, you could see it there in the background to the right of me, but how was I supposed to notice that? Of course, the game still has the same problem as the previous games in that every time you get something from a chest, they'll remind you what it is. Even though you should know by now how much like red rupee is worth and what arrows are and stuff like that. At least there's no enemy spoils in this game to constantly remind you, because this game has a glitch where every time you reload your save file, they'll remind you what blue rupees and what yellow rupees are. They don't normally do that. Like, it was supposed to be just once per playthrough. In fact, they actually fixed that in the HD version. Like, rupees picked up only display text box once per file. Another thing the HD version did was, rupees won't be put back in the chest from a full wallet. Like, on the one hand, I appreciate that mechanic because it means the rupees don't go to waste, which you don't really want because there are a few things you want to spend money on. But on the other hand, it's just really annoying having to remember that chest wasn't opened and you need to go back to it later. So I guess it makes sense. Another thing is the wallet sizes. The wallet sizes in the HD version were fixed. And by fixed, I mean arbitrarily change a tiny bit to create the illusion that they're improving the game. The wallet sizes are changed to 500 for the first wallet, 1,000 for the second, and 2,000 for the final one. Okay, really? Like, 2,000 is still not enough for the final wallet in the game. Wind Waker had a 5,000 rupee wallet, so I'm not sure why they decided. Again, why don't they just have you have a huge 9,999 wallet from the very beginning? Again, did we really need to see that? The bosses in this game are really scripted, because, like, you'll be allowed to attack them for a little bit after you make them vulnerable, but then they'll arbitrarily not allow you to attack them anymore. This boss is pretty easy if you manage to chain your spin attack sprite. Like, it goes down pretty quickly. It is kind of annoying, like, following him and knowing exactly where to roll into him. Like, knowing exactly which totem pole he'll jump on top of. Like, I guess you have to wait. Like, yeah, you have to hope that he'll stop. And only then will you be able to roll into him and make the boomerang hit him and knock him off. It's kind of annoying in that respect. This is another really unique concept. Instead of a boring old boomerang, they have this. A boomerang that's basically a tornado. And it's actually justified by the Fairy of the Winds. Like, it's not just some random magical item. The HD version also has Miiverse support and 15 Miiverse stamps to collect. Don't really see the point of that. Miiverse isn't really something that's suited to a single player experience. Also, in the HD version, the sword will no longer get stopped by walls. Like, that's another bit of realism that I don't really appreciate. Why does the sword have to get stopped by walls? Why can't it just clip through it? Like, people complain about clipping like it breaks the immersion. But honestly, I just prefer to just be convenient. This is such blatant padding. Like, come on, why do we have to do this multiple times before it'll open completely? Why can't we just throw it at the fan once? Once you get the Gale Boomerang, though, the game becomes a lot more fun. The dungeon also becomes a lot more fun. And then Link died.